We are in the book of Proverbs. We will begin in chapter 9, but I would like us to look at something before we get there. And let's go ahead and turn to Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 4. Deuteronomy 25, verse 4. And we see these words. Now, this is in with a lot of other things under the law of Moses. Various laws given. And we're going to use this because we see where Paul is using it. And Paul is using it more than what one would suspect, because there is a message that's implied. There's a message that goes beyond what one might think. So Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 4. You shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain. This is a direct statement, but there is also an implied principle that is there. How do I know that? Let's go to 1 Corinthians and we will see it, because Paul is going to write about it. And why am I bringing this up? Because this is precisely how we use Proverbs. That Proverbs have a message that is an implied message. Aside from direct statements that may be in it, there's also implied messages. So we go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 1 Corinthians 9, verse 9, and we see this. For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain. Now we have a question. Is it oxen God is concerned about? Is that who He's really concerned about? Was this just meant for oxen? It is for oxen, but is He not concerned for, is this not a principle that would go way beyond oxen? Verse 10, he answers that question. Or does he say it altogether for our sakes? For our sakes, no doubt. Meaning Paul had no doubt this was written for us, concerning us. All right? For our sakes, no doubt this is written, that he who plows should plow in hope, and he who threshes in hope should be partaker of his hope. If we have sown spiritual things for you, is it a great thing if we reap your material things? If others are partakers of this right over you, are we not even more? Okay, now, he is using Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 4. He's using it to show a broader principle that happens to be there, which is what Proverbs do. That's precisely what they do. There is a broader principle that happens to be involved in it. Now, we can also continue on in this, going to 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 18. And we have this. For the Scripture says, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain, and the laborer is worthy of his wages. All right, now this is said, that's verse 18, this is said after verse 17, which says, let the elders who rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in the word and doctrine, for the Scripture says, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain, and the laborer is worthy of his wages. All right, now in both instances, he's applying this to people. Now, in 1 Corinthians, it's applied to the preacher, is who that's applied to. Now, in 1 Timothy, he's applying it now to an elder who's also a preacher as well. All right, and still it comes down to the same idea, that it's not just oxen, that there's more than that. So, are there implied messages in the Bible? And the answer is yes. Lots of them. Lots of them. As we have said before, parables are nothing but implied messages. That's all they are implied messages. Something is being implied. The parable of the sower is not telling you how to be a proper farmer. The parable of the pearl of great price is not telling you how to be a good jeweler or knowing great pearls, literal pearls, when you see them. There's something being taught. Now, in Proverbs, there are always things being taught. Now we go back to Proverbs, and in chapter 9, before we start chapter 9, I want to just discuss some things briefly that are occurring in the book, or is occurring in the book of Proverbs. That Proverbs has different characters, yes, and we discussed that from the very beginning in this, and that Proverbs has the personification of wisdom. Wisdom is seen as or portrayed as a woman. And also in chapter 9, now Proverbs has been doing that for a bit, but in chapter 9 we're going to see wisdom and her house. And we've already been seeing that she's been calling out, and she continues to call out. Matter of fact, she sends out her maidens to call out. Also in chapter 9, we see folly. Folly is also portrayed as a woman. She too has a house, and both of them have prepared their house. Both of them are calling out to those who will listen. Both of them calling out. As a matter of fact, we're going to see folly is definitely focusing, and so is wisdom, but on the simple and the one who lacks knowledge. Folly is really calling them. All right, well, so is wisdom. We also have in the book of Proverbs, we have the adulteress. That's in chapter 7, verses 5 to 27. It's something that Solomon witnessed while he's just looking out his window in the evening. He sees this going on. There's also, by way of comparison, in chapter 31, verses 10 to 29, the virtuous woman. And we see the homes or the houses of both. We see that with the adulterous woman, her house is set for temptation. It's set for adultery. That's what the house is set for. With the virtuous woman, it's set for stability, for righteousness, and for her family. Now, the adulterous woman is not set for her family. She cares nothing about them. Very, very little about them, especially her husband. But her children would have to be thrown in there as well. But you have the home of wisdom, the home of folly, you have the home of the adulteress, the home of the virtuous woman. Now, let's go to chapter 9, verse 1. And we're going to see what wisdom has done and the house of wisdom and what she continues to do. So, Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1, wisdom has built her house. She has hewn her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her beast. She has mixed her wine. She has set her table. But she's done all this not for adultery. This is for helping us. This is for the idea of gaining wisdom from her is what this is. And she has set her house. Verse 3, she has sent out her young women to call from the highest places in the town. So she sent out these maidens, these young women. They're in the highest places of, and they're calling out as well. And this is what they say. Verse 4, whoever is simple, let him turn in here. To him who lacks sense, she says, come eat of my bread and drink of my wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways and live and walk in ways of insight. So this is one call that goes out every day. There's another call as well, but this is one call that goes out for the simple, for those who lack sense. Come in here, learn from me, eat of my bread. All right, drink what I have prepared, because it is going to be good for you. You're going to be feeding on wisdom, and learn not to be simple. Learn not to be one who lacks sense, but actually gains sense. Now there's another call, and that's from folly. We'll get to that in just a second. Who is wanting to prey upon the one who lacks sense and the one who is simple, and the one these won't improve at all. Matter of fact, things will just get worse for them. Now we have this little section, verses 7 to 12. Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. This is similar to what Jesus states, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 7, verse 6, do not give what is holy to the dogs. Do not cast your pearls before swine. Do not give what is holy before the dogs, to the dogs, lest they turn and rend you. That there is a type of person who is violently against the truth. Violently. You can have many who you can have a conversation with, and they don't, and I mean a biblical conversation with, and they don't turn violent. They're not violent at all. They may not like what you're saying, and they may want you to stop, but they're not going to be violent about it. But there are some who, they will become violent. And it's a matter of discerning, being able to, a little bit of discerning to know what you got. And I've told this story before. It was a fella who was trying to have a Bible study with a man, and the man pulled a knife on him in the middle of the Bible study and said, "I hate Christians." Well, he survived. He didn't get cut, but he was wondering, what do you do in that situation? Well, it comes down to, don't cast your pearls before swine. All right? And understand there's a type of person. Now, you may not know this person at all. You may have no inkling what they're capable of, and there's, you just learn as you get there. But there is the type. Understand there is a type that can be very, very dangerous. They are violent against the truth, and that's where we are in Proverbs 9:7. Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse. You're going to get scoffing. That's what the scoffer does. You're going to get scoffing. And, let's face it, most of your stand-up comedians and basic comedians today, most of them are just scoffers. That's what they do. They take something and they make fun of it. All right, it's not necessarily in good humor. Some could be. Some could be, but I think more and more now it's not. It's not that way at all. But they're just scoffing at things they dislike. And the end of that verse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Verse 8, do not reprove a scoffer or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man and he will love you. Someone who is able to take correction is someone showing wisdom. And we all know those who they know how to do it right. They're not. They think, they are fully convinced they know how to do something right. You try to give them a little bit of advice of this is how it ought to be done, and they're not going to take that advice. And I've been in situations where actually a formal class, and I mean a formal class, of where you are here to receive certain instruction. You have no experience in it or extremely little experience in it. I have more experience in it. Why are you here in this class if you're not going to take the advice I have to give? Why are you even here? Because the way you're doing it has some flaws to it. Let me help you. It's just the voice of experience. That's all. Just the voice of experience of I can see how this is the better way to do that because I've been there. Okay? And but this, of course, has to do, what we're talking about here is, of course, in the moral sense of things, reproving a scoffer, that trying to bring the scoffer into a wise decision. He's going to hate you. Reprove a wise man, he's going to love you. There's this comparative. Verse 9, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. So one, it's going in opposite directions. One is heading downhill, the other one is growing. One is dying, one is growing. Now we come to verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And that's a primary principle, understanding that truth. And if we were to talk about logic and working through things logically, now people can do it when it comes to non-spiritual things. If it's something a matter of business, if it's something a matter of just whatever it happens to be, getting a better price, people can work out. You can talk to somebody logically, and they can see the logic in it. But when you're talking about spiritual things, it's a different matter. Suddenly, logic is cast aside. But for you to truly think of things in a logical way, you must have an honest heart to begin with. For you to think logically and putting an honest judgment, an honest jury on the Word of God, you must have the fear of God first. You must. And there's a lot of people that think themselves as having the fear of God, but they're not doing His Word. Matter of fact, some of the things they can see it in black and white, and yet refuse to do it altogether. Do you really have the fear of God? The answer to that would have to be no, you can't. You cannot have the fear of God. Or when you learn, you change. When you learn, you live what you just learned. You apply it. And that's the whole thing. We have this reprove a wise man, instruct a wise man. He's going to be wiser still. You teach him, he's going to increase in learning because he has the fear of the Lord. Teach him something he did not know, he's going to grow by it. He's going to see, well, that is the word of the Lord. Therefore, I got to make some changes. I've got to rethink. I've got to change something in my life. Now, verse 11. For by me, this is wisdom still talking. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, look at this. If you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you shall bear it alone. You alone will bear it. All right. Now, what is the meaning of verse 12? That is, the decisions you make, you're going to find the result of it. Make wise decisions, you're going to see the results personally. Make foolish decisions, be the scoffer, be the simpleton, be the one who lacks understanding. Be that. You do that, and you will be the one bearing the burden of it. And there are people I've known in my life who their life was just a whirlwind. Their life was catastrophic things, and you step into that, and you're going to be stepping into a tornado. You see them, and they can blame others, but it's no good. Yeah, I'm sure certain things have happened in your life that you could blame others, but the junkyard and the devastation you see in your life might not be the fault of everybody else. It might be your fault. You made that decision. Very much like the Luke chapter 15 with the prodigal son. Prodigal son finds himself starving, feeding pigs in some foreign country, and he comes to his senses, and he knows it was him who got him there. He can't blame it on his father. His father didn't kick him out of the house and would never kick him out of the house. His father didn't do it. He did it. He left. That is, the prodigal son left. And so there he is, bearing it alone. There he, and of course, in that particular parable, he is alone. Of course, someone who happens to be married or with children, their foolishness is also going to spill over into their family. It's going to do that. You have a man who's just a drunk. That's going to affect his family. A man who's in and out of prison, that's going to affect his family. Or we can change it to the wife. The wife who's always a drunk, the wife who's always in and out of prison, that's going to affect those around them. But they're definitely going to be seeing it. And God is not mocked. What a man sows, that is what he's going to reap. He's going to reap it. This is what you've been putting down. What do you think is going to grow? What do you think is going to happen? Now, verse 13, we get to this. The woman folly is loud. I just got loud on that. She's loud. She is seductive and knows nothing. She knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house, so she has a house too, just like wisdom does. She takes the seat on the highest places of the town. Now that's like wisdom. If these are competing voices. Wisdom's doing this. Wisdom's also sent out her young women. Wisdom has done that. There is this call in the concourses, in the marketplaces, in the intersections, all these different places. Wisdom is calling out, but so is folly. How is this? How is this? Because every day we're going to find moral decisions. Every day. Now, someone who's already made their decisions for the typical thing, such as worshiping on the first day of the week. Okay? That's not a decision that has to be made every Sunday because it's already been made. That's what you're going to do. All right? You're already set in that. So you don't wake up wondering, should I not? Now, if someone's sick, that's a different thing. That's not really a moral decision at that point of do I need to just stay home and heal from this, or can I get out as I would want to do? All right. But when it comes to your every year throughout, come first day of the week, come Sunday, there should not be a dilemma at all that it should be set. Yeah, this is what we do because this is what we're supposed to do, and this is what I want to do. Now that's wisdom living inside somebody. That's wisdom in there who has done that. And so folly can call all she wants, but someone who is strong enough, the call means nothing. But the call is always out every day. The call is out every day. And there are moral decisions that have to be made. And so you have wisdom calling out, you have folly calling out. Now, verse 15, here is folly calling to those who pass by who are going straight on their way. It's just, they're just in ordinary daily life. That's what they're doing. They've got something that they have in mind that they're going to be doing. They're on their usual whatever it is that they do. They're going straight on their way, but this is what she says. So here is temptation that suddenly just comes around in this call. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. And to him who lacks sense, she says, here's the temptation, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. So she is targeting the simple. She's targeting the one who lacks sense. Now, if you've ever watched like wildlife documentaries, or perhaps you've seen it in the wild, where there is a predator, and the predator, let's just say it's a leopard. Okay, you've got a leopard, and you have all of these, we will call them impala, or you can make it whatever you want. All right, impala can run really fast. Okay, now, does that leopard look for the strongest in the herd and go after the strongest? No way. Too much effort, and the likelihood is you don't eat. Okay, the leopard doesn't eat. The leopard doesn't look for the strongest. The leopard has to look for the weak. And by rushing in, maybe, I don't know a leopard's mind or what a leopard is able to actually kind of discover, but running into the herd, the leopard can see who's running slower, who's limping, who's too small. That's where they go. That's where the leopard is going after. And so Folly is going to pick on those first because those are easy targets. Folly is going to go after the weak. Here's the simple, here's the one who just lacks sense, and stolen water is sweet. And this is taking what's not yours. And I think we can get to a conclusion that this is once again adultery. And bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Now, it doesn't have to be limited to just adultery at all. But here is this idea of taking what is not yours. Now, verse 18, and I think that we can arrive at it being adultery because we have a similar thing here. But he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. They're in the depths of the realm of the dead. Sheol is the Hebrew word. Hades, or Hades in English, is the Greek word. Both are used in the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. Okay. He does not know what the result's going to be. He just like we saw from chapter 7 with the man who lacked knowledge, and with the adulteress, all he sees is pleasure. All he sees is something where there's no responsibility whatsoever, and it's nothing but good can come out of this. And he has no idea what the actual results happen to be. And they're devastating. Adultery is poison. It's instant poison. It destroys, and I've told this before, of knowing men who, with adultery, they obviously lost their family. That's wife and children, and the children now have no respect for them whatsoever. Love them beforehand, may still love them, but have no respect for them. And some of them resent, some of them would even hate their father. Okay? Lost their job, lost respect for numerous people around them. What about the other side where the adultery took place? What about her family? You think they're happy about it? No, they're not. You have children on the other side. They hate that man. They hate him because that's mom. Mom belongs with dad. And who's this guy? Who's this guy? He's this one who's just kind of, you can think of it like a usurper. He's this stranger that's now in their home. They don't like that. They resent that. And this is poison, complete poison. And he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. No idea. Because he lacks understanding. No idea. Because he's a fool. And going further into foolishness. Now we come to chapter 10. We are now, from chapter 1 to chapter 9, that was the discourse. And we talked about that. Chapter 1 to chapter 9 is where it is this father speaking to his son. Now we come to a collection of proverbs. That discourse is a discussion of, an overall discussion of wisdom and foolishness. Now we're coming into independent or just various proverbs, and this starts out with the Proverbs of Solomon. These are his proverbs. And we will also come to sections where it's not attributed to Solomon at all. Now, this chapter starts, because we're through with the discourse, this chapter starts very similar to how we see in this discourse of pay attention to the teaching of your father and keep the instruction of your mother. It's very, very similar. It's still addressed to a son, or so at least this does. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother. So it starts off that way. All right, you, son, be wise. Now we need to understand Hebrew parallelism. And I know that when I was considerably younger, that there'd be things like this, and I would try to make sense of it without really understanding Hebrew poetry or what's known as Hebrew parallelism. That it's saying the same thing just in different ways. Okay, a wise son makes a glad father, so that means not the mother? No, mother too. All right, but a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother, but not to his father? No, to his father too. It's saying the same thing, just looking at different sides to it. Sometimes your parallelism is just a matter of a few different words, but now it's taking the opposite of it. It's saying the same thing, that you be a fool, you're going to be nothing but sorrow. Well, if that's the case, then doing the opposite must be true. That if you do what is wise, there's going to be gladness. Do what is wise, you're going to have parents who are pleased with that. Now, from verses 2 to 5, we actually have, this is a section. I've put this down as a section. One can think that these are kind of independent, at least some of them are independent, but actually they are together in this, because this is talking about gain and want, and how someone might have gain, and whether that's good or bad, and that is addressed, and how someone may be in want, and what might be the cause of that, and what definitely will bring that about if you want. But here in this, we have the wicked, the righteous, the diligent, the prudent, and you also have the lazy. You have the one who has the slack hand, the one who sleeps. Okay? And in this, there is gain and want, hunger and craving, poverty and wealth. It's all in here. Now, verse 2. treasure gained by wickedness does not profit. All right? Treasure gained by wickedness does not profit. Well, they gained money, but nothing's really been profited. Now, if that's that, obviously that is what they wanted, but there is no real profit in that. Let's go to verse 16. The wages of the righteous leads to life, the gain of the wicked to sin. There's your answer in it. The gain of the wicked, that leads to sin. And so there's no profit. Now we go back to verse 2, do the second part of that verse. But righteousness delivers from death. Now, is that not profitable? Is your life not worth something? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Righteousness will deliver you from death. All right, the treasure gained by wickedness, that's not going to deliver you from anything. All right, it's not going to deliver you from the judge. It's not going to deliver you from death. It's not going to deliver you from any of those things, nor deliver you from sin. Now, verse 3, the Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but He thwarts the craving of the wicked. Now, notice you have that of the righteous being hungry and the craving of the wicked. Notice the two different words in there of hunger, obviously hunger, and then craving. That the wicked isn't doing that because he's hungry. The wicked's doing that because he craves it. And it may have nothing to do with eating at all or food at all. Lord does not let the righteous go hungry. Now, we have very, very similar words in Psalm chapter 37. I'll just go there very quickly. Psalm 37, and we have the words of the psalmist. Actually, it's David. So, Psalm 37, verse 23. 25, sorry. I have been young and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his descendants begging bread. I've not seen the righteous forsaken. All right? David is saying, I'm old now, and I've never seen this happen. Let's put some things in there, though. When David was younger, David was being chased by a very wicked king who happened to be his father-in-law, Saul. And David, on one occasion, he and his men have been on the run. They are innocent. David is a hero, and Saul hates both those facts. He hates it. He hates the fact that David is a hero because he sees in him what is going to happen. He sees that David is going to become king. Now, David's not going to remove Saul from being king, so Saul himself is safe from that. David refuses to. But Saul doesn't want David to be the next king, and Saul doesn't want this hero to receive such praise and to have such glory, but he does. He's jealous, vindictive, though David has done him no wrong, and he wants David dead. Now, David and his men find themselves hungry, and they have to get bread from, and this is having compassion, they have to get bread from a priest, from the tabernacle. Now, Jesus uses that to show that there has to be some mercy. There has to be some times when mercy is needed, and it is a matter of that, yes, this is the law, but this is a matter of mercy at this moment, and we need to look at this from a merciful standpoint. Because that bread wasn't meant for anybody but the priest. But the priest gives it to David and his men. Now, he said he never saw anybody begging for bread. All right? But I think we need to look at the first part of that the righteous never being forsaken. Because while he was hungry, was he fed? Yes. Fed by the righteous? Yeah. Fed by God? Yeah. We can definitely say that. He was definitely fed by God. And so we come back to this, Proverbs 10 and verse 3. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry. He's going to take care of the righteous. He's going to take care of us. Now, that doesn't mean we get the best meal every day. I think you would grow tired of that anyway. And aside from its effect that it may have, but we will be fed. And that give us this day our daily 7-course meal? Nope. Give us this day our daily lobster and steak? No. Give us this day our daily bread. Okay? What we need to sustain life today. What we need. And that's what it comes down to. What we need to sustain life today. What's the saying that, and I may get the words wrong, enough is as good as a feast? Okay? That having enough, you've got survival. Having enough is all you need. Having a feast, obviously you're going to have all you need and then more. But having enough is enough. And that's what he says he will supply. And he will supply that. But he thwarts the craving of the wicked. So to thwart means that you have in fact defeated. All right. The wicked has a craving, and while the wicked can be successful at their wickedness in whatever cravings they are after, the craving that they have today, they may be very successful at that, but there comes a point when it's not successful anymore. Okay, men who have, through their wickedness, the question is, when do you have enough? When do you, that was a problem of, I guess, of being a pirate, to bring them in, of where a pirate had to know when to retire from it and go back to land where they can be, they stop and they won't, they can live however they dreamed of living. When do you stop before you get hanged? When do you stop before someone stops you? When do you say, yes, I've got enough, now I retire out of this? And not many knew when to do that. All right? And that's not the right idea anyway. Live an honest life. Don't steal from others. Don't crave what others have and find some way to get it. You do something the righteous way. You have your gain by way of righteousness. That's how it is. Now, we see another thing in this, and this also can be categorized as wicked, and we'll just read these next 2 verses and then we'll need to end it for today. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who brings shame. So this also is a thing of gain and want. And this also is a matter of righteousness and wickedness. Not someone whose wickedness in that of stealing from others and having these unlawful cravings, but it's a matter of just being lazy, being slothful, not doing. And we will come back to this next week because we need to give a little bit more attention to this and continue in chapter 10. Thank you, everybody.